Hey guys, welcome to part two. So, as we left off in part one, uh, uh, Finn and Estella meet once again, and they schedule a meeting. And upon their meeting, he meets her fiance, and she's not in love with her fiance. She has no feelings for for him whatsoever. As you could tell just watching the movie, there's little to no PDA between him and her and her fiance, which is played by, what's the actor's name? Um, his name escapes me. Well, anyway, I'll remember it later. But her, there's just no love. There's no passion going on between these two characters. And so the days go by, and he just it seems as though he's gotten older and he's changed, but not a whole lot has changed. He's still guarded. He still has not really dealt with his traumas. He still hasn't dealt with his past. He just completely ignores his true feelings and his true desires, uh, at the expense of himself. You know, just so that he can impress a few strangers. And he keeps doing it. And him and Estella, they start to find each other again. And there's a lot of love, there's a lot of passion, there's a lot of romance that ensues. And it even gets to the point where she cheats on her fiance. Not saying that I recommend that anybody that has some kind of feelings, or a strong desire for somebody, do not uh, provoke, do not encourage the other person to cheat on their significant other or their fiance. um, because I just believe that God is not going to bless anybody that is willing to interfere with whatever kind of connection that somebody has with somebody else, especially if they're married. I just don't believe in that at all. But that's how far it gets. Because remember, Ethan Hawke's character Finn still has not dealt with his inner demons. He still just completely ignores who he is on the inside. Um, and in the end, it just completely backfires on him. He is very good at what he does. He is very talented, and he does put a lot of effort. He does put a lot of work into his craft, and you'll see that in the movie. And towards the end of the film, he 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 starts to get more and more of that attention that he's always craved. He People are starting to recognize his work, and it's going on newspapers. He has this big showing. um, that's coming up pretty soon in the movie, and he is just on top of the world. He made it finally. Great. Everything is where it should be. He has finally earned Estella's love. He has finally earned her favor, or so he still thinks. And the shirt turns out really great. People are showing up in droves. but then he goes back to, I think he was Miss Dinsmore. There's so many things that they leave out in the movie. It's crazy to me. There's so many pivotal I think pivotal aspects of that movie that I think you know, for whatever reason just never made it to film. But Miss Dinsmore is where Finn thought that Estella was going to be. He's running towards Estella. He's hammered drunk. You can tell he has this big bottle of, you know, whatever it was, you know, whiskey, and he's banging on the door. He's ringing the doorbell, and he goes, "I made it! Finally, I have earned your love. I have earned your respect. You don't have to be," wait for it, "you don't have to be embarrassed by me anymore." This is all still going on in his head. But remember that just because you obsess over something, just because your mind tells you what is right and what is wrong, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's always correct. Because remember, your mind and your heart work very congruently and go very hand in hand, but you must lead from the heart, because your heart is what is in charge of in charge of your decision making, whether to go right or whether to go left. And your heart determines that. Your brain is just a tool. I don't think a lot of people realize it, but your brain is just a tool that your heart uses to fulfill your purpose, or to make that move, or to tell that person that you've so desired how you really feel about them, what you really mean to them. This is what I really want people to take away from this. If you've watched the movie before and are still confused, like I've been very confused for a long time. That is the true meaning behind this story. Finn is running away from himself, and so I'm just gonna keep going. With the end here. So he goes back to where he thought Estella was going to be, only to run into Miss Dinsmore. And guess what? Estella has disappeared once again, without saying a word, no goodbye, no see you later. She goes off, she gets on a plane, and she marries her fiance. The moral of the movie is, when you run away from yourself, other people will too. It is impossible for other people to love you or to come right alongside you when you won't even do the same for yourself. As hard of a truth that is for people to register in themselves. The more that you ignore your own problems, or your own baggage, or your own hurt, your own betrayals, your own trauma, the more that people are just going to disappear in your life. And it doesn't mean that they never loved you. It doesn't mean that they never cared about you. But it's just not going to work unless you love and care about yourself. And that is what Finn failed to do. He tried to paint himself as this just completely different character to show off to whoever was around him, and people could see right through him, and so could Estella. And another thing that you have to understand as you're watching the movie is Finn and Estella are one and the same. They're two halves of the same person. But because Finn, being the other half, decided to completely neglect himself and to run away from himself, Estella did too. And in turn, Estella decided to run away from herself. So now you have two people, you have two characters in the movie that are both left with this huge void in their heart. And so that's what happened. And as you'll see at the very end of the movie, she shows up again. She's divorced. Not to anybody's surprise, she divorced him. She has children with him, and there's not a whole lot of clarity on how that continues or how that transpires, but they're together once again. But this time, Finn has decided to face himself and to understand who he really is. And that is the whole point behind Great Expectations. I think that, honestly, this is one of the most underrated movies in the history of Hollywood. I really do. I have my own opinions on what I think of Ethan Hawke and the whole Hollywood system, but honestly, I don't think that Ethan Hawke ever got his due as an actor. I think that he's one of the most underrated actors in movie history, and that movie for a long time has just always. I've tried to find the meaning behind it for a very long time, and I think that's what this movie is really trying to teach people. Is, true love it's not being fake. It's not having superficial relationships with people. It's not trying to go along with the status quo. It is not trying to judge. It is not trying to critique. It is not trying to shame or to demoralize. True love is exactly that. It is true love. It is unconditional. It knows no. It is not black and white, nor is it gray. It is love has no bounds. Love is forever. Love is you can't put a price on love. Love and material things are completely opposite of each other. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how you look. It doesn't matter. That's what I really want people to take away from this movie. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed part 1 and part 2. I hope you enjoyed my assessment of this movie. I hope that you got some more clarity out of it. And if you did, share it with your friends and your family. But like always, guys, I love you. I hope that you'll have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you again soon.